This is Abundantly Clear, a Malorie Nicole podcast designed to help you further understand the concept of abundance and put it into practice to build the business and life of your dreams. We'll be breaking barriers of conditioned belief, the standard rules of marketing, and empowering you to achieve real success, allowing you to make a greater impact and live a fulfilled, purpose-driven life with ease. Welcome to the conversation, the stories, the science, and the synergy of living life abundantly clear. Now, on to today's episode.
Welcome back to this week's episode of Abundantly Clear. Today we have Danetha Doe, who is a money mentor for ambitious women. Danetha, thank you so much for being here this week.
Thank you so much for having me, Malorie. I'm excited to connect with you and connect with your audience.
Yeah, so it looks like you are in sunny California right now. Yes?
It is sunny California today. We just went through a period of intense rain, and today the sun is out, which is really exciting.
Awesome. And I see that you have your delicious looking, which I wish I was a part of, mimosa in your hand.
Yes, it's Friday, which is our weekly money date day, which includes a mimosa.
Ooh, I love that. Weekly money date day. Tell us more about that.
Oh, for sure. So I love to make money fun. And there was a time in my life when looking at my money was not fun. And so to encourage myself to sit down, look at my finances when it wasn't super fun to do, I would treat myself to a mimosa or something small, whether it was a walk, just something to get me through that session of sitting down and looking at my finances. So every week I highly recommend sitting down, looking at your finances, reviewing it, and then treating yourself, whether it's a mimosa or a walk around the lake, whatever you need to celebrate your time with your money.
I love that. So it's really putting the action into the emphasis of having good energy around your relationship with money.
Yes, energy is so important in all aspects of our life, especially with money. I do believe money is energy, and what we put into it is what we're going to get out of it. And the more we celebrate it, even if we don't feel like we have a lot of it, which is all relative, but if you feel good about where you're at, you're going to get more of that.
I love that. Can you tell our listeners and tell the audience more about how you help your clients and people that you worked with, these women that you've worked with, do that?
How have I helped them with their relationship with money?
Specifically around their energy, the energy they have around money.
Oh, absolutely. So I've now to date have worked with hundreds of women. I've talked to thousands of women about their relationship with money and also the practical side of money as well, the tactical savings, investing, how to manage your books. But in terms of the energy and their relationship with money, I've done a lot of work, a lot of research, and as well as talking to women about how they engage with their money is ultimately what they're going to see reflected, and how they treat their money is also how they show up in different areas of their life. So one of the key aspects that I just mentioned is having an attitude of gratitude, celebration. And when you start celebrating wherever you're at with your money, you're going to attract more, you're going to start to see more, because money loves to be nurtured and it loves to be taken care of and it loves to know that you're acknowledging it. So the more that you give thanks to it, the more it's going to come back to you. The other area of when it comes to money, having a positive money relationship that I talk with clients about, whether they're through our programs or when I'm working one-on-one privately with women, is the importance of being aware of where you're at financially. The elements of, this is anything in life, right? If we bring awareness to any aspect of your life, it's not about judging where you're at, but if you don't know where you stand financially, you can't make any changes, and you certainly can't be grateful for it because you have no idea where you're at. So when it comes to your relationship with money, the key is to be aware, then to have an attitude of gratitude, and then also recognize where you may have holes, if you will, in your money aura, is what I call it. And everyone's been through some sort of trauma with their money. Some of us, it's all relative, but everyone's been through something where they haven't felt good about where they're at financially, or they feel like they've been taken advantage of, or they feel like they haven't made enough money, whatever the case is. All of those experiences harm your aura and your energy around money. And so once you become aware of where you're at financially, once you have an attitude of gratitude, then you can start to take steps to heal whatever areas around your relationship with money or your money aura that's blocking you from your abundance.
This is great. This is super great. You hear a lot in the entrepreneurial world, and this isn't just for the entrepreneurial world, but more so you see it because there is a little bit of unstable. We don't know exactly when the next paycheck is coming in, like a traditional corporate job. Like we might have a projection into, the next 6 months or a year if we have clients on retainers, but there is that sense of anything can change in any given moment if you're a business owner. And you hear that a lot with people, and at least I hear this with my clients. I don't know if you experience this with yours. There's a lot of shame around even wanting to look at the numbers because there's so much uncertainty, and just wanting to try and play it safe and not really face the numbers and what's going on, because it projects that scarcity and that fear of like, I don't even want to look at it because I'm not sure what's next. And that doesn't really matter if someone's just starting or they're really successful. Those patterns kind of show up for a multitude of people. What's your feedback on that?
And I mean, I'm a business owner. I'm a freelancer. I'm an artist at heart. I understand inconsistent cash flow. I understand that, some months it's really flush and other months it's not. And when you having someone, either yourself doing the books, or if you're working with an accountant, working with them directly to help you manage and project those out, yes, that helps. But to your point about mindsets, that having a scarcity mindset that leads to you avoiding looking at your finances, that's where the issue really lies, is when we avoid it. Because what you're saying, what someone, not you, Malorie, but what someone is saying when they say, well, I don't want to look at it because I'm afraid, it's shame, it's guilt, it's anxiety, but I'm afraid to see where I'm at. What you're saying is that you are not open to being delightfully surprised. You may actually be in a much better situation than you are giving yourself credit for. And there have been a number of my clients, when we actually sit down and look through their finances at the end of the month, they are shocked. They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I actually did this well. And now the next question is like, why isn't that reflecting in your savings account? That's the other next question. But if you have a mindset where you believe that it's going to turn out better than you could have hoped or imagined, oh my gosh, the world becomes magical at that point. And the same will be the case for your bank account. Your bank account becomes magical when you start to think, you know what, it's going to be better than I thought it will be. And I'm open to being delightfully surprised.
I love that. I'm open to being delightfully surprised. That is something to remember.
I have to tell myself that too.
Right? We're students. We're students of what we teach people. It's not like the game just stops when it comes to mindset and we don't have to pay attention to ourselves anymore. I'm a student as much as I talk about the things that I talk about.
Same. I had to give myself just this week a coaching lesson. And I say just this week, it's every week that I have to talk to myself. I had this one conversation, or I had one sales call in particular this week. And this sales call was with a really large corporation, publicly traded company. And the call was at like 2:00 in the afternoon, around 10 a.m. I started feeling this sense of dread. Like for me, that shows up in, I sweat. I just feel anxious, and my initial reaction, and what I would do several years ago, is cancel the call. I wouldn't even show up to the call. I would come up with some excuse that I couldn't be there for the call. And that little thought popped into my head, but I've grown since then where I don't cancel a call. However, I had to tell myself, Danetha, why are you feeling anxious? Why are you so concerned that this call won't go well? What makes you think that you aren't going to have a great conversation with this company and it could turn into a really awesome opportunity? And what I had to do for myself was tell myself, be open to being delightfully surprised, and then go on a walk and listen to this amazing podcast that puts me in this great, luxurious mindset, which is what you do with Abundantly Clear. I had to surround myself with positive thoughts and remind myself, I do deserve to have a luxurious life. This call is going to be great. It's going to go better than I could have ever imagined. And just give myself that space to calm myself before walking into that call. Because if I had gone into it with that type of that anxious energy, it would have impacted the way I showed up, the way the other person reflected back to me. So yes, to your point, we're all students of what we're teaching. And I've seen how my work helps me and then also hopefully helps others.
Such a beautiful representation of being the observer of the thoughts. Because we can dwindle, we can do all the mindset and all the belief work in the world. And a lot of that stuff will go away. A lot of those old beliefs, they'll disappear and they'll go away. But we're still human, right? We're still human. There's still going to be days, and we're women too. There's still going to be moments and times of the month where our head is just a little bit too focused on things that it doesn't need to be focused on. But giving yourself that permission to be the observer and just exploring what's coming up for me right now. And am I going to put energy into this, or am I just going to observe that this is a thought and then take that and change the direction of my thought process and go somewhere else with it? Love what you just shared on that note.
Thank you. And thank you for reflecting that back so eloquently, because yes, I really see that as a luxury to be able to take a step back and observe the thoughts and then not judge it, just wonder, be in awe of it. Like, what is showing up for me? I wasn't always in this position where I could take that step back, meaning like I had to make sure I could pay the bills. And so there's this sense of hurriness that I used to have. But now, yes, I'm definitely grateful to be able to be in the space.
That's great. That was actually leading into one of the questions that I wanted to ask you. How did this kind of all start for you?
Ooh, wow. How far back do we want to go? I mean, honestly, I wrote my first poem. I consider myself a writer first and foremost. And I wrote my first poem about money at the age of 6.
No way. Really?
Yes.
Do you still have it?
Yes. My mom has it framed at home.
Oh my goodness. So interesting.
Yeah, I find it interesting now, like now as an adult, like looking back on it. But yeah, I compared money to magic and was asking for more of it. I don't know where that came from.
Because you wanted to receive.
Yeah. I knew at that age I was going to have really expensive taste and just wanted all the money.
That's so good.
Yeah. So I've always had a fascination with money, just like how it works, why we have it, why people respond to it in the way that they do, why some people hoard it, why some people get rid of it. I've always just been interested by it. I just see it as just this magical thing that we as humans created. But in terms of how money and mimosas started, that started over a conversation with girlfriends. I love mimosas. All my girlfriends love to do brunch. And so we try to do, and we usually do a weekly brunch date where we just get together and talk about anything, sex, money, relationships, whatever it is. And one day we were talking about money a lot. One of us was getting married. She was wondering if she should merge her bank accounts. Another one of us was thinking about fertility treatments, and those are really expensive. How is she going to be able to do that? Another one has student loans while being a teacher, and she's not making a lot as a teacher. How does she balance that? And should we start a business, have a side hustle? All of these questions were coming up during that brunch date. And we realized that we didn't really have a resource. We had each other to help us answer these questions, which we were like, whoa, this is cool. I wonder if other girlfriends talk about money and help each other out, because the woman that was about to get married just turned to the friend that was married and asked her, oh, how did you manage this? And it wasn't when our friend who was married shared her way of managing her money with her husband. It wasn't, you have to do it this way. It was just, this is how I did it. These were some of the conversations we had. This is why we decided to do it, and you can choose to do it or not. And we really just loved how easy and graceful those kinds of conversations were. It wasn't someone like beating down information down our throats and telling us we were bad, or we had to pinch pennies, or we had to give up our brunch dates in order to be able to save up for a home. It was just us sharing information with each other. And that really inspired me. I wanted to see more conversations like that around money. I was already fascinated by money. And so from that brunch date, I started taking our questions and doing some research, like what are the best dividend stocks to invest in, and what is the best way to start a business if you are working a 9-to-5 and don't want to give that up immediately, and just shared it amongst us. And then that slowly grew to like a couple more girlfriends, and then a few people that I didn't know. And then it turned into a weekly newsletter, and now it's a blog. And so I'm just going with the flow, but that's how Money and Mimosas all began.
That is so cool. And it's so organic. The way that that all happened is just so organic. And I'm a firm believer in that the most brilliant of things that happen, there might be a little bit of resistance and it might get us out of our comfort zone when it actually goes into putting it into action. But those ideas and those things, they just come out of nowhere.
Yes, they do. And it's so fun to just go with the flow and not feel, and I have to tell myself this all the time, because I'm an accountant as well, and I need structure and I like process and I love knowing the next step. But it is really lovely to just let things happen and just like be able to follow these breadcrumbs and not know where it's going to take me.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's been a really delightful, enlightening journey.
That's really cool. I remember when this thought is coming up as we're kind of talking about money, and you mentioned the penny pincher type of mentality. And I remembered a moment, one of the very first couple of months in my business, and I was having a little bit of a hard time. I was in my head about some things, and just I was still trying to figure out kind of what my business looked like.
Sure.
And I had like $100 bills in my hand, or I won $100 bill in my hand, and I really wanted a client. Like I was still at the point where I was thinking about so much, like I need a client. I was operating from so much scarcity, so much just fear driven, like I have to get the next client. And I had that $100 bill in my hand, and something told me like, go give this money away. Go give this $100 bill away. Even though I needed money for the next couple of things that were coming up in my life, I was like, all right, whatever. This doesn't make any sense. I went and gave that $100 bill away, and literally later that day, a client came out of thin air, sent me a message, booked a call with me, pretty much said yes before we even had our first call. And I was like, this is so interesting that the money showed up, and it really taught me the energy around the money that I'm projecting is exactly what I'm going to get back.
Yes, I love that so much, because what you did was first you realized you had a scarcity mindset. You realized that you were tightly holding on to this idea that I need this money right now. I need to get this client right now. You observed it, you released it, and then replaced it with just this feeling of trust. You trusted that, hey, I'm going to give this away because I know it's going to come back to me. It's going to come back to me. I don't know from where, I don't know how much, I don't know when, but it will come back. And it's so, so beautiful that you were able to see it happen immediately.
Right. Yeah, I know it was pretty immediate. It doesn't always work that way.
Sure. Right. I wish it did sometimes, but it's funny. I had a similar experience as well, and it's part of the reason why I firmly believe that financial freedom is a journey of self-love.
Absolutely.
And the more we put the energy of our money behind taking care of ourselves and nurturing ourselves, we're going to see that come back so much. And I was in a very similar position too, where I needed a client desperately. And also still figuring out my business too, which is interesting, like how being abundantly clear, like when you're not really clear on what you're doing, you're going to either not attract abundance, or you're going to attract some really funky stuff.
Yeah, you're right.
So I was in that position where I wasn't clear about what I was doing. I knew I wanted to help women with cash flow and all that finance stuff. Ironically, I couldn't get my finances together. And so I was in a position where I think I had $75 in my bank account. And I was like, rent's coming up. I need to find a client. I put up this listing for a $600 a monthly coaching session. So once per week for $600, something, whatever. I don't even remember exactly what the service was, but I put it up in this Facebook group that I was in and left it alone. And instead of continuing to sit behind my computer and try to somehow find a client, I went out and treated myself to lunch.
With $75 in your bank account.
With $75 in my bank account, which by any financial professional's measure would not have been a smart move. Like, no, you need to pinch those pennies, literally, because you need that money very soon.
Go buy a bag of rice, go buy some rice and potatoes, and you're not going out anytime soon.
Right. In fact, if you can go without eating for a few days, that would be even better. So I didn't do that. I went down the street and got myself a really nice lunch and just took in the fact that I was living in the Bay Area and was grateful for just being able to have freedom of time, because there was at one point when I couldn't just go to lunch by myself because I was working a 9 to 5. So I just thought about things that I could be grateful for in this moment. And that same day, someone signed up for that coaching session, the monthly coaching offering, for $600. And that was exactly more than what I needed. And it was clear to me, and it continues to show up in that way, the more I take care of myself, money loves that.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Money is it's like our friend, but we're so scared of it.
She wants to love us.
Yeah. We just have to give her permission to first to really let it happen.
It's interesting. Cool story. Yeah, it is really interesting. We have to give her permission. Yeah.
So what is it you do? I know we've got a multitude of things that you do. Before I try and explain all of them, why don't I just ask, what do you do with your clients, and what are some of your outlets that you have going on as being a money mentor, and some of the other things that are connected to the newsletter?
Absolutely. So I help people through money and mimosas with understanding their relationship with money, improving their relationship with money, and then also pairing that with the tactical, practical side of managing, saving, and growing your money, meaning get your book set up as a business owner. How do you start investing if you haven't already started investing? The really tangible things that every woman, every man should know, but I focus on women and helping them get financially free and financially independent. So the outlets that we use, the outlets that I do to help women do that is through our weekly newsletter. If you go to moneyandmimosas.com, every week we send out at least 3 to 5 articles on various areas of money. And these are all free. So wherever you're at in your journey with your finances, there's information in our newsletter every week to help you out. Beyond that, once you're a little bit further on your journey and you are ready to start investing in your financial education, I do private coaching, very, very, very small groups. And then we also have programs, whether that's live events or digital courses that you can sign up for, depending upon where you're at in your journey.
And doesn't it just make perfect sense that my financial advisor is the person that connected me with you?
Oh, I didn't know that he was your financial advisor. That's so great.
Yeah, we've been friends for a while, but I hired him a couple months back to help me out with some stuff. It's just so funny how
That's
the money is all interconnected.
I love that so much. Dan is great. He was just on, I have a podcast, Future of Accounting, where I interview thought leaders in the accounting profession. So folks that share a similar mindset and have insights to share with other accountants. And he was just on, and he is incredible, as you know.
He's got a really good, and just like you, he's got a good balance of like I can tell like you're very, very smart, and on top of it, like you got this intelligence about the pieces of money, but then you also have this amazing energy about money and the looking and the spending and the feeling around it. And it's such a good, beautiful thing, because a lot of times when people think about money and hiring people, not only just about money itself, but hiring people to help them with money, it feels kind of like rigid a little bit. Like it can feel very rigid, and you just do not portray that at all. You have this amazing energy about the way you talk about money. And I think Dan has some of that too. So it's just really cool that you guys are connected, and to be connected to both of you.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, it's definitely, I'm on that journey, always learning more about money. But yeah, I feel really good about where I'm at now, financially, and in terms of my relationship with money.
Good.
Yeah.
So do you think it's going to just keep growing as far as what your business is doing?
Absolutely. There's
Awesome.
such a feeling of expansiveness
Okay.
when I look at my business and feel into my business. I mean, and we joked about this earlier, and I get this question a lot. So how do you make money, Danetha? And I used to answer that question in a very rigid way. I do X, Y, Z, and that's it. And I realized that for myself, and I think a lot of creatives and artists and writers can identify with this, I literally felt in my body that I was pinching off opportunities when I would answer that question directly. And by giving myself permission to have multiple streams, literally, I mean, they talk about that all the time, that it's important to have multiple income streams, but then we force people in this box as a society, which is, it's ironic and it's kind of humorous, but giving myself permission to have so many opportunities is great. For instance, last year, a TV show landed in my lap. Like was not looking for that opportunity. I'm not an actress, but the role was about money, and if they were,
of course it was.
Yeah, and so am I going to start saying I'm an actress? No, I'm not. But I am going to leave myself open to any of those opportunities. So if someone's listening to this and you also are in a position where you feel like you can't fit into a box and you feel stressed, because I used to feel really stressed and anxious about answering those types of questions. What do you do? How do you do it? How do you serve people? And I would just say, give yourself freedom to relax. If that means like, if you have to dance it out right before going to a networking event, if you've got to paint it out, like whatever your medium is for releasing, and then just feeling into your business, then do that and give yourself permission to be that free bird that you are.
I love the artist in you. I've got a client that I've been working with for a little while, and she's a copywriter. And the way that she works, the copy, I mean, she's world class, and she brings people very, very amazing financial results in the work that she does. And the more and more I learn about her and who she is a storyteller. There is so much artist in her. You know, copywriting is how the entrepreneur would say this is what she does. But she is a genius, amazing story writer. And I found, in what you're saying, like seeing her take out some of those boxes and to just see what happens when that artist inside of you comes out, because I can see it in you. I can feel it in the way that you're expressing everything that you're talking about in your business. I also see some of that in her, and it's making me think about some people I know that have, we all have an artist in us, but for some it's more prominent than others. And with those people, there might be a little bit of a different way to do the entrepreneurial world than maybe what they're accustomed to thinking is the only way that they can do it.
Absolutely. I mean, just listening to you describe this woman in particular, as a storyteller, she could help someone really get clear and concise about how do I communicate how I started my business in a speaking engagement, which has nothing to do with writing, right? But now it's like, whoa, you have so many gifts to bring to the table that all has to do with the language of words and the beauty of being able to communicate. And being a copywriter, it's absolutely important to be able to check that box off. Like sometimes I'll say I'm an accountant and leave it at that, depending upon this conversation. Because we live on planet Earth, and it's important to follow these laws that we have here and be able to clearly communicate. But yeah, depending upon the clients that she's working with, there's so much she brings to the table. That's beautiful that she has that gift of storytelling.
Yeah, it's just so interesting because the titles that we hear in the online world, and even it makes you think about a website designer. Well, they're a website designer, but they're probably there's an artist in them. That's why they're designing the website. It's just really cool to hear you share your pieces on this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm hopeful that it's helpful to others because I definitely identify with the artist.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview. And we'll do one last time. I know that you had noted it earlier in the podcast, but just to make sure that everyone has access to you, if they're listening and want to learn more, how do you suggest that they find you?
Absolutely. The best way to find me is on moneyandmimosas.com.
Easy.
Really easy. Head there, sign up for our weekly newsletter. Like I said, we give out free information every week. And other than that, I'm so grateful that I've been able to connect with you, Malorie, and I hope that something I shared was insightful and
so
helpful.
Much value in all of this. Truly, so much value in all of this. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, absolutely, Malorie.
Thanks for listening. As you put these concepts and practices into action, you'll begin to see the benefits of living an abundantly clear life. To connect with Malorie and other high performers, join the Abundantly Clear Entrepreneurs community on Facebook or visit Malorie-Nicole.com.